Hello everybody and welcome to the celebratory 5,000 science per minute Megabase stream. Hey, we're doing a base tour. Hello, the kitty has joined us. We're doing a base tour. Okay, we did it. Check this out. Let's get so what is this? We got a 5,000 science per minute Megabase. Let me show you. As soon as the cat gets out of my way. 10-hour graph. There it is, right there. Thank you, Call Me Roxas. I'm keeping the thank yous quick. I'm going to publish this to YouTube. Check out this graph, 5,000 signs per minute. All right, let's get to what this means. We're going to do a quick overview of what the base is, show you a little bit about it, and then we're going to do an in-depth tour. But for the YouTubers out there, let's show you what we're dealing with right now. Preliminary, Imager. This is my modified real-world settings. This is a 0.17 megabase. We have iron ore, copper ore, stone, and coal and uranium frequency size all the way to the bottom. Okay, the furthest apart we can get. We did crank the patch sizes up though for iron and copper and stone and coal. We reduced it for uranium because a lot of times you have too much, and then crude oil we just said a little bit bigger, why not? The richness we took down a few notches. We wanted to make sure that this Megabase was tough. So we made it so those patches don't have 100 million, but instead they have like 2 million. It gives us a little bit more challenge. So this Megabase, we added the challenge of reduced richness. A lot of times you'll see Megabases with maximum richness. This is just the challenge. All right, looking down just a little bit more, we have maybe some water changes, some tree changes. Biters are enabled. Biters are default real-world settings. That means that the starting area size is whatever that size is. The enemy base is this, and expansion is turned off, but evolution is turned on. So you still have evolution, you still have pollution. And then down at the bottom, we have the research queue available. We have pollution as normal and so on and so forth. So nothing fancy there. Okay. All right, let's close that. Here's that graph. 5,000 signs per minute over 10 hours. Fantastic. Let's close this graph and let's show you the base. All right, without laying any track there. This is the fully zoomed out view of the base. We have a hybrid logistics bot as well as belt Megabase here. All of these little tiny yellow dots on the outside, those are logistics bots running at full speed at an outpost, okay? We still got the biters on the outside. Let me turn pollution on for just a quick second. Yes, it's a big, gigantic fireball of pollution, like every Megabase should be. Okay, when we zoom in, you're starting to see some of the patches. You're starting to see what's going on here. All right, so let's take a look in the northwest. Here are some patches. There's about 12 million in that one, 12 million in this one, 2.8 million stone in that one. Over here we have 30 and 8.5. So you can kind of see that it's not ridiculous amounts of resources, but we still have enough. We have taken out all of the patches in the starting area. All of the patches down here, we ripped them from the ground. They're all gone. And we have a rail system in place that just sprawls everywhere. So you can kind of see it right now. You can see all the little red dots if you're lucky, depending on how the YouTube compression works here. And then you can see everything on the outside. All right, let's zoom into the actual base. So everything you see on the outside with these yellow dots, these are on-site smelting outposts, all right? Each one of them does between 20 and 40 or 50,000 plates per minute, and they're all logistics bot based. So standard issue, you have a bunch of miners, you have a bunch of smelters, you got beacons, you load them into a train and you send them to the main base. All of the outposts, pretty much all of the outposts are 100% bot based, okay? So logistics bots only. And this is just a simplicity thing, keeps it nice and, like easy to place down. Nobody wants to put like belts everywhere. So at this scale, we just went ahead and did bot-based smelting. And then they load up on trains down here, okay? All of these trains are 383 trains, and they're all sent to the main base down here, where we have all of our science done. Okay, So on the right hand side, you can see the labs. I carved my name into them because I am that vain. And over on the left hand side is where the resources get dumped off. So let's start with the resources. The resource stackers down here. We got a couple of trains waiting to deliver. We got coal, we got bricks, we got iron plates, we got copper plates, there's steel, and so on and so forth. Those get sent up this channel here with my standard rail depot that I use in most of my maps to various unloaders on the left-hand side, each unloader giving up to 8 blue belts of that type of material. And once they come in, they come out the left-hand side and they turn around and 8 belts of material get sent to the east. Now if I zoom out some more, you can see all these yellow lines. Those are giant belts of materials. Let's start with the bottom. Here's petroleum gas. Sir Captain Crumpet, thank you for that tier 1 sub for 2 months in a row. Congrats on this 10-hour mark. So the petroleum gas is 100% coal liquefaction base. We have no oil in this base. No oil. And cheers, by the way. Cheers. What we're doing here is we're ripping up all the coal patches just for the sake of removing them from the map. That's the one objective I had, is I just want to remove all the resources from the map. This simple build here, I say simple, generates about 1 pipe limit worth of petroleum gas. There's about 60,000 petroleum gas per minute out of this build here, and we just stacked 1, 2, 3 on top of each other, and we put 3 on the right hand side as well. Each one requires 2 pipes of water and outputs a little bit of heavy oil as well as a little bit of petroleum, or a lot of bit of petroleum gas. This petroleum gas gets piped north all the way to the top and then gets distributed to the rest of the base as fit. The amount of throughput that we have on petroleum gas, this is 4 or 6, I think it's 6 pipes worth. We can't actually fit it all through 1 pipe, so we had to make 6 separate pipes. Okay, and then going north, we have all sorts of other different builds. We got low density structures here. We got purple science here. We have electric furnaces, green circuits for the modules. Here is our module build, RCUs, engines, robot frames. We have some green circuits up here. And over on the right-hand side, we assemble a lot of these with the science. Here's our space science, so those are rockets, and down here is rocket fuel. Just east of the petroleum gas, we have a second build which builds rocket fuel here. It actually builds light oil for the rocket fuel, but it does build a little bit of rocket fuel, as well as our miscellaneous sulfuric acid plastic bars for the make everything, lubricant, and of course you need dynamite for your ammunition for your artillery shells. Okay, so that is the main base. Now we have 2 bases in this map. We have the main base, which is what I just described to you, and then over on the east side is a second independent base that is very similar, but does something a little bit different. This base does nothing but build blue circuits, okay? And red circuits, I should say. Blue and red circuits. So this is my circuit base. Down here you can see we have a blue circuit 10,000 per minute. This is a 5,400 science per minute build that can also support modules, because we do need to make modules while we're doing this. And you can kind of tell it's busy. It's making blue circuits. We have 4 belts, 4 blue belts of blue circuits. That's double blue right there. It's blue squared. Again, they get loaded onto a train and shipped off to the other base and imported through an unloader up here. And then this gets delivered to everywhere in the main base I need blue circuits. We also have a red circuit built. This is 65,000 red circuits per minute. And I'm telling you, when this thing makes red circuits, this thing makes red circuits. This is the biggest build I have. Any big megabaser knows the #1 largest build is your red circuit build. So this is all red circuits, okay? And then to get those red circuits, we need more petroleum gas. There wasn't enough before. That's why we have this whole section up here, which is dedicated to more petroleum gas via coal liquefaction. Okay, so here's one build, here's two builds, here's three builds, here's four builds, plus three more over here, that's 7, plus another 6 down here. That is 13 pipes worth of petroleum gas just for red circuits. Okay, cool. All right, so that's kind of the overview of the base. Let's get into a little bit more details. The train system, we have every outpost has an external stacker, okay? This is a satellite stacker. So the way I did this is probably a little bit different convention-wise than a lot of the other megabases. I used a distributed stacker system so that I didn't have to hold all the trains in my main base. There's a lot of trains in this base. They hold their contents at the outpost, and they're controlled by a logic so that they don't send anything to the main base unless the main base wants it. Okay, I should add this is vanilla. I probably should have put in some disclaimer here that this is vanilla. We are not running TSM or LTN or any mods. This is absolutely vanilla. The only thing we have for mods is this game time up here, which shows you the number of hours that this map has been played, as well as something called nice fill, which when you use nice fill, it turns your land-filled area into whatever it was by the map generation instead of that solid green. Okay, so it's pretty nice, like visual effect. That's about it. So let me jump back. So I segued a little bit. We were talking about this outpost. Now all the trains on the map are held at the outpost. Each outpost has some number of trains dedicated to it. All of these trains are 383 trains. This one is actually a little bit off. You see that I didn't paint it right. Whoops, my bad. And they're colored appropriately for the train they are. They hold the resources and they stay here until the main base says ship it. Okay, and when it says ship it, it brings that train all the way to the main base. Okay, each one of these is sent to the main base and holds about, I think, 32,000. All right, so 32,000 plates. All right, so that is 4 here. There's 4 coal trains here. It's saying 2 go to the main base. Hey, kitty. And then down here we'll have something like a 2-lane stacker for bricks, because you don't need as many bricks. And this one is saying send 1 train to the main base. All these trains get routed to the main base on, actually, believe it or not, these are just 2-lane tracks. This is just east and west. There's not a lot of 4 lanes, okay? So from the north side, we have all of this connection. Thank you very much, Grinch, for those bits. That's 2,500 bits. Thank you very much. We're doing the YouTube video now, so I'm not going to go extensive into the thank yous, but I do appreciate it. Awesome donation there. All right, coming down here, we have many trains that converge into what I'm going to refer to as my gigantic T intersection that handles everything. So this is a little big, maybe a little overkill, that's okay. But it merges the north from the south, and it's built to be extensible. It's built to be able to handle a 4-lane input. I built this for this megabase, and then it can handle all sorts of traffic through this area and into the stacker that supports the main base. It also handles 2 lanes of output from the stacker so that these trains can be sent back to where they come from. So this is the north quadrant here. This north section is all 1 rail line. On the bottom side, this south rail section connects to all of the outposts in the south. This is a much busier rail line. You can see a lot of trains moving east to west here. These outposts service either the main base or the circuit base. Slip second, thank you very much for the 100 bits. The ones that go to the east side are going to funnel through a similar T intersection over here. And what I like about this one is I was inspired by some other YouTube and Twitch players, is we have a, this is a counter, and this is a representation of each digit and the number. And every time a train passes through, it adds 1 to this counter. So we have 93,000 trains have gone through this intersection right here. Every time a train comes through, it just increments it by 1. So you can kind of see that happening. On the other side, we have a similar counter. This is a little bit newer. We built the circuit base later, but this one has done 20,000. So what we have now, okay, we've gone through sort of the high level rail here. Most of the rail, like I said, is 2 lanes. It's east and west or north and south. When we get past the big T intersection, that's when we merge 2 lanes together. We use a 4-lane system, okay? So this one's rather short. It's just 4 lanes to and from the stacker for about, I don't know, 25 feet. But on the east side, we merge the north and the south, and we have a 4-lane route going all the way, dedicated to the stacker for the circuit base. The stacker is actually empty because it only sends trains to the circuit base when it needs to, and they can generally just go right through the stacker, find their way to the actual outposts that they need to deliver to. I'm sorry, the unloader that they need to deliver to, and then head in there and unload. Okay, so the stackers themselves aren't super necessary, but they're good for like the backup and also just in case you have some congestion or some sort of failure. All right, so that's the rail system. We have the northeast quadrant here, which has a whole bunch of outposts as well. Let me give you an overview of these trains. All right, so we got five per row, and we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 50. Uh-oh, I lost track. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's 60. 65 rows, 327 trains. That's what it looks like. So we're running 327 trains on this map. We are at a pretty low UPS. It's 25 UPS right now. If I zoom in completely and step down just a little bit, we get up to 29. A lot of that is biters. And then there's also the culprit of nuclear, right? So we are nuclear powered. I'll segue that next. We use a this is my first nuclear power plant here. Now my nuclear power is built off-site. I built it in the lakes because I felt it was not only cooler because you have an island full of nuclear, but also it was easier to place because you can just drop your blueprint down with the landfill and the bots will place it all. And then I don't have to worry about any of those pipes. Look, so this is a UPS efficient a nuclear reactor here. Each one of these is 800 megawatts. You can see that the water is directly piped right into the heat exchangers. So there's no pipes here. It's just direct. That helps with UPS a lot. You really don't want to have too many pipes. Okay. And then these steam engines are direct feed from the heat exchangers. It's not optimal in terms of ratio, but for UPS reasons, hey, it doesn't hurt to have a little bit extra steam turbine here. It just means that your steam turbines are running at 5 megawatts instead of 5.7. Again, you don't want any extra pipes holding these liquids, so you kind of want to keep those liquids as confined as possible. So this UPS-friendly build is pulling us back a little bit on UPS, but it's creating plenty of power. So what kind of power are we looking at? We're looking at 42 gigawatts. All right, 42 gigawatts is pretty good. This is a 9.6 gigawatt factory. It is supplied by bots. Those bots deliver those resources by train and get sent back using a simple train that picks up the fuel. It drops off the fuel and picks up the spent fuel. Okay. So now, after I built this 9.6 gigawatt factory, I ran out of room. I couldn't fit anymore here, so I moved to a different island. This is a 25 gigawatt factory. I'm sorry, power plant over on the east side. It's the same thing. It's just bigger and at a different spot. So we have 2 nuclear factories now, and it's just turbine after turbine after turbine, nuclear reactor after nuclear reactor. There's just a bunch of them. All right, so even that wasn't enough. Even this, I was in the yellow. Okay, so down here is another one. This is a 15.2. That puts us at a total of about 9 plus 25 plus 15, about 50 gigawatts of power potential. And we're just below that at 40, so we have some room for fluctuation. Maybe we overbuilt it by a little bit, but hey, a good Megabase is always overbuilt in stupid ways, right? So again, this is the same build. We just repeated it over and over again on different lakes. And the reason why it's on a lake is A, it's cool. It's not connected. B, it's easier to place. So I don't have to place any pipes anywhere. All right. So nuclear is one thing, drawing those UPS away. The other one is biters. We talked about biters a little bit. Here's that pollution cloud. If I zoom in anywhere, you can see large bases are completely enveloped by really dense pollution. That means that there's always something attacking. And that brings us to our wall. We have a wall around the entire Megabase. I tried really hard not to do this, but this is what I ended up doing. Throughout our process, we had sometimes we had walls in a couple places, but for the most part, I tried to just wall the outpost and keep the trains unwalled. What ended up happening is over and over and over and over again, the biters would kill a pole, they'd kill a train, they'd kill something. And once they killed a pole or a train, that caused backups, that caused problems. And eventually I just got sick of it and said, okay, I'm just going to build a wall. So this is the wall I came up with. Like every Megabase, you go for a complete overkill. This pattern uses laser turrets, it uses flamethrower turrets, and it uses uranium rounds and gun turrets. And each one of these, like if I go up here to where there's like a lot of attacks, each one of these has hundreds of kills, right? So the laser turrets have less, but this has 500 kills, 400 kills, 1,500 kills, 900 kills, 800, 600, 200, 300, 600, 800. I mean, it just never ends. I think that some of these, if you look for biters that are really close, like right here, 390, 490, what's this one? 4,000 kills. If you look at our actual base for kills, I think that's right here, and you look at our 10-hour mark, we're looking at 138 big spitters every minute that we kill. That's 2 a second. Even behemoth spitters, we're killing more than one behemoth spitter a second at all times. There's just biters attacking us all the time. It never stops. And losses. All right, let's look at some losses. We have had some bot catastrophes, okay? It's okay. They're all accounted for. We scrapped, we buried each and every one of them. They all have a special place. They're all good. I'm sorry, bots. The bot abuse here is minimal. I'm sorry, bots. But the wall has stood the test of time. Now, these walls are all part of a Roboport network, but that's not one big network. So over here, you can see this tiny little sliver of green. This wall is taken care of by the coal outpost. This wall is taken care of by the copper outpost. This one, an iron outpost. This one, a coal outpost. So the individual different outposts have a collective distribution or relatively distributed amount of work, and each one takes care of one of those walls. Okay, so if the biters do attack, they are repaired. This is actually probably a really good example. 2,000 kills. Oh boy. That's a lot of kills. Each one of those outposts is responsible for making sure the light oil is supplied, that the uranium rounds are supplied, the repair packs are supplied, walls are provided, all of that stuff. And all of that is done by this complex unloader here. Now this here is something I refer to as TLS. I'm not going to go into the depths of TLS. I'll show you a glimpse here, and then we'll walk into something else, okay? So TLS is a system that allows me to have resources shipped to each outpost automatically without me having to worry about it. And all I have to do is configure what I want at that outpost, and the main base will send it out. Okay, so that's as far as I want to go with TLS. Now, we'll do a deep dive into that later. All right, on the other side of the outpost, we have, on the second line, is just the loader, and this is where the coal loads, okay? So nothing super fancy there. But this outpost, not only does it load coal, but it also has, if you look on the right-hand side in that logistic storage system, it has ammo, it's got repair packs, it's got walls, it's got gates, it's got concrete, it's got stack inserters, it's got everything I need to make sure that that defense holds. And previous to this wall, we had the same kind of thing, but every outpost had their own wall. Every outpost had their own turrets. Every outpost had their own ammo and defenses. I've cleaned all that up, but you can see some of the remnants here. You can see where the walls were. I've cleaned all the walls up. And you can also see that this base, it did summon those parts. And inside of this storage system, this still has 1,000 rounds of uranium ammo. That's in that lower right-hand corner. So we used to do that. Now we don't. So how do we? All right. So let's talk about what do we talk about next? Okay. We talked about the wall. We talked about the outposts. I can talk a little bit about the steel outpost. That's the only thing I think I missed. Some of these iron outposts are actually dedicated steel builds. Now these steel builds here are, they're not 12 beaconed. One of the furnaces is 12 beaconed, and the other one is, I think, 10 beaconed, and that gives us the about 1-to-1 ratio in terms of power. On top of that, we're using stack filter inserters that are clocked for UPS concerns. This helps us make sure that the only time, I can't actually click on this because I'm far away, but the only time it unloads that steel is after 12 steel has been created. So instead of this inserter being active every time one steel is created, it's going to wait for 12, and then it's going to dump 12 in the box. All right, that just helps with UPS a little bit. So that's one of the outposts that we have. This is the steel outpost. I think it's around 30 seconds or so. There it is. Just happened. You just saw it. 30 seconds or so between those inserters. Works. And then those clocks are configured right here. Okay, so this is my steel outpost. Again, this is that TLS system. I have it at every single outpost. I have it everywhere. That allows me to drop an outpost anywhere I want. The materials will come to it. I lay the blueprints and it builds itself. All right, so now moving on, we have here's a stone brick, and the stone brick has a on-site smelting as well that's clocked, and this is going to be identical to both the copper and the iron. So this is an 8x8 formation. This helps with condensing it, keeping it kind of small, so that we don't have bots flying way far away, because if you do a 12 beacon setup just for stone bricks, it's going to be rather big. Okay. So the coal is relatively straightforward. It's just miners, nothing special there. And I believe stone is the same thing. So here's a stone patch. Some are bricks, some are stone. It just delivers two different things. But this is just a stone delivery train. Okay, uranium is right here. Here's a small little uranium belt base. This is producing in a 8x8 beacon set up here and shipped to the main base via trains. Okay, there's one more uranium outpost down here. Actually, this one's done. This one's dead. This one's completed. And I believe I made one more up here. So here's another uranium. This one's got 435,000. All right, so 435,000 uranium. This is going to last a long time, and it keeps those dull and shiny rocks in my system. Okay, so that's it for outposts. No, we got one more outpost. All right, so I'll show you this one down here. This is a unique outpost here because it's not even on. We're using trains. Okay, this is a train-based mining system, and I developed this after I got a little bit more mining productivity, so you could do it when you have like 20 or 30 mining productivity, maybe a little low, may take too long to fill these up, but when you have like 90 plus mining productivity, then you can start loading directly into trains. So this system here is called an SRN. I'll do a deep dive later. These trains drag their cargo wagons across this patch to fill up, and then when they're full, they come in here, they drop their payload off on these smelters here, right inside of this unloader. That gets smelted into plates and then deposited into a different 383 train that comes in from above, up here, loads, fills up, and takes that away to the stacker, which then takes it away to the main base. Like right now, it's just got all of these materials because I forgot to tell it to connect to the main base, but if it did connect to the main base, it would work. Over here, we have one that's kind of working. This is much smaller because I ran out of space. But this is an example of where we have an SRN that's actually making copper plates, and there's no bots, no belts. The reason why I made this is to improve those UPS. Okay, that's it for Outpost. That's all I got. The only thing I think I could show you is here's the actual delivery of nuclear fuel. So this is dropping off a train wagon full of nuclear fuel to be distributed to the 25 gigawatt plant, and it's going to head back. Was it really no pathing? That's too bad. All right, let's talk about the base. All right, this train system here, okay? Let's start down here, right here. These unloading bays are wired up to accept different resources, and then they communicate to the train controller to determine when they should be on or off. And those resources get unloaded into these boxes here, and the more space that is available in this box, the more trains that are going to be called. And then as trains come, they'll fill up these boxes, filling up the buffers, and then unload into a 8 blue belt system with a inserter going to each lane. So this is the inside lane, this is the outside lane, so that it's distributed and then split together so it's balanced. So this is a fully balanced output system. It puts resources onto both sides of the belts equally, and it creates 1 blue belt worth of stuff. Then it merges that into an 8x8 balancer, puts it all together so that all these are distributed across the output the same way. And that means that every time a train comes here, you'll never have an issue where one side of the train can't empty. They're always going to be emptying. They're always going to be able to drop their payload and move. Will this big explanation be uploaded to YouTube? Absolutely. Yes, it will. Hello, YouTubers. Down here we have different types of resources being unloaded. Here's a copper, here's an iron, and here's another copper. These are sent over to the left via blue belts. The entire science facility is belt based. This is the red circuits here. We have all sorts of spaghetti nonsense, slightly organized. Here's some petroleum gas heading down, and it goes into what usually is a 12 beacon build, but we have some different types of build for different types of things. So this is my red circuit build. We're shipping in coal, iron, and copper. And Sharps Artisan, thank you for that Twitch Prime sub. Looking good, thank you. And we're making plastic bars on site. So we're making plastic bars in line. We're making green circuits in line. And we're making copper wire in line. So given those 3 inputs, we're making the green circuits, the copper wire, and the plastic bars. And those are going down the belt over to red circuits here to be made. And we're using these intermediate chests. And this holds a small buffer of resources. This is a slightly beneficial build UPS-wise, so you get a little bit more bang for your buck in terms of UPS with these types of builds. And then the output red circuits are put on a belt. Every other one puts to a different side of the belt. And if we look down to the left, we'll make a blue belt out of this, merge that together with 2 others to make 1 blue belt. And then this belt traces all the way down south next to all the other belts. Sent out west, you can see there's a lot of circuits now, and when this base is fully running with modules, it does consume just about all these belts. Some belts are sent to blue circuits, the others are sent to trains. And here's a train loader. This is a belt-based train loader here. Loads a 383 train of red circuits, if there's one available. And up here we have another one and another one, so that gives us a total of up to 24 blue belts of red circuits if we need them. Again, the only reason we're going to need those at 24 belts is if we're doing modules, but we're not doing modules right now. Okay. Down here, this is the beast. Blue circuits, as everyone knows, let's just start with the blue circuits themselves. Blue circuits themselves, copper wire to green circuits on direct insertion, and then green circuits directly into the blue circuits with the sulfuric acid, plus the reds from above make the blue circuits. So instead of making green circuits and belting green circuits, I chose to make all of my green circuits right next to where they're needed, just about all of them. And this is an output of blues, okay? So the number of blue chips that we have, okay, is big. It's real big. So we have 6 in a column, and we have just rows and rows of them. And the output here is 4 blue belts of blue circuits. You can see that running again. So right now we're making a lot of blue circuits. We're making 10,000 a minute. That's a lot of blue circuits. Okay, the inputs to this thing, this is where it gets cool. Look at all the iron and copper that we're feeding this thing. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 groups of 8 blue belts. What is that? I can't even math that. That's like 56. What's 7 times 8? Well, 7 times 9 is 63. So yeah, 56. 56 blue belts of resources going into this blue chip factory. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool. But wait, if you buy now, we'll throw in another one for free. Here's another one. Here's a second blue circuit factory, identical, right next to it, because why have one when you can build 2 for twice the price? This one, however, is suffering a little bit of lack of resources. We don't have any copper flowing in right now, but that's okay, because this is overbuilt. Again, we only need half this much normally, but if we want to build modules at the same time, I had twice as much just for that reason. So down here you can see this is not being fed because there's no train getting to the very, very, very end of this system. But if it did, we would be making those blue circuits. Somehow we still have 2 blue belts here full. There it is. There's our first gap. Those are just belt buffers here emptying out. And then this goes to the train system. All right, so that's enough for the circuit base. Oh, look at this. Here. This is one of the very first outposts we built. It's only got a... oh, no. It's got all sorts of stuff left. Darn it. Okay, but it's got the very first wall setup we had. Okay, this is my first wall setup. We had a lot of laser turrets here. We had walls, we had gates. Not as much overkill as the other one, but this is kind of what the outposts looked like originally. When we built these, we were in 0.17.50, and at that time, we didn't know, but there was a bug that caused laser turrets not to get the upgrades for shooting speed. So these things were actually really weak, and that caused me to basically redo my defenses. I added flamethrower turrets, and I added something else too. I added uranium ammo, because these were actually failing miserably to biters. Anyway, let's jump over to the main base now. Let's see. Let's start with low density structures. Sure, why not? So I really liked the idea of the building of your intermediate components that you needed adjacent or just before or in line with the final product. So in this case, we have low density structures which require steel, requires plastic bars and copper. And on this build, what I really wanted to do is I wanted to build those plastic bars right before it. So each one of these plastic bar factories in front takes I think it looks like a half a belt of coal and produces a full belt of plastic bars. And this full belt of plastic bars goes east along all of these low density structures. Again, we have the intermediate build, and we just have a whole slew of low density structures. This outputs into 4 belts of low density structures here. This is actually 2 going up, 2 going down. Thank you very much, Develop, for that 9-month Twitch Prime sub. But this is a 4x4 balancer of just low density structures. There's probably not 4 belts worth, but we have 4 belts going into it. Okay. Now, this was one. You saw how many there were. Here's the second one. The resources coming in, not quite as impressive as the blue circuits, but anyone who plays Factorio knows that low density structures love copper, and this is basically where the rest of my copper is going. So this copper here feeds nothing but low density structures. We have what looks like 80+% utilization of these belts. And if I measure this, there's 22 blue belts of copper going into this build, and 22 blue belts of copper going into this build. Very cool. All right, whoops, I left the map view. And then these are fueled by 4 different petroleum gas pipelines, which are designated to each one of these clusters of 9. Gets a pipe. Going north, we have even more and even more. Okay, so low density structures, great. Down here we have this is light oil. I think we talked about that earlier. Here's our sulfuric acid. We have 2 pipes of sulfuric acid coming out. We have a low pipe and we have a high pipe. I think, which one is it? I think this is the high pipe up here. It's hard to tell because there's a whole bunch of pipes that aren't doing anything. This is the high pressure pipe, and I think this is the low pressure pipe down here. The low pressure pipe probably goes to batteries. Yeah, it looks like it just goes to batteries. Maybe I'm wrong. Or maybe the high pressure one does. So here's our batteries. Those get shipped south and north. They go to both robot flying frames and the White Science. Batteries are pretty straightforward. All right, so I'll let that be. Here's our first, I guess you would call it not a bus, but this is kind of just an array of resources that get sent off to the right, and they continue on. So you can see we have extra red circuits. Some go south, some go north. Here's our batteries. Here's our low density structures. We have some extra steel going north. We have some extra copper coming south. I'll get to more in this in a second, but this is leading to what I guess is my main bus, and that is this beast over here. So this is what fuels the science. I'll let you soak this up in a little bit. Here we have all the different resources we need for, let's see, this is going to be red science, green science, blue science, I think we have yellow science, and then where's steel? Steel is part of purple science. No, purple science is actually shipped in. We got 4 purple belts of purple science shipped in. That comes from somewhere else. Here's the robot frames. All right, so that's the main bus, and that's actually, I'll get to that in a little bit. Here's our modules. Okay, so there's nothing special here. We have green circuits being built from basic parts, and those get directly, well, nearly directly. I had some problems with this, and they get kind of circumvented around the outside, but then nearly directly fed right into the module builds with red circuits from the south. And we have 2 belts of speed modules and 1 belt of productivity modules. Those are sent towards the west. The productivity modules go directly into my purple science build. This is direct insertion times 4, something like that. So this purple science build is probably a little bit different than what you expected. We're building these rail parts. These are iron sticks on site. Those are directly inserted into rails, which are then directly inserted into the purple science factory. I didn't want to belt rails. I didn't think it was worth the UPS. Anytime you put something on a belt and then take it off the belt, it costs you UPS. If you can just stick it in a box, it's a little bit better off. So all these rails in the boxes are intermediate chests that fuel these purple science assemblers. Okay, so we have a couple screenfuls of purple science. What I love about purple science is that it just devours resources. It just devours steel. Look at all that steel just getting, that is so much steel. And up here it's just eating stone. And I think there's brick from the south if I look. Oh no, the brick down here and the steel is going into electric furnaces, and these electric furnaces are eating up, they're eating up steel like nobody's business. Look at this, 5 belts of steel, just nom. 5 belts of brick, just nom. And it's outputting a full half belt of electric furnaces. I think this is my favorite part of the space. When you look at this and you see that's a blue belt, and half that blue belt is electric furnaces. You think, wow, imagine what I could automate. Like, imagine how much I could build by just utilizing that. Just tap into it. I do use this, I tap it for base expansion. So if I need electric furnaces, I do pull right from this line. It suffers a little bit, but that's okay. Yeah, you sometimes need the resources. So that's purple science. Over here we got RCUs. So those speed modules get combined with some of these blue chips into RCUs. These RCUs are clocked, just like the plates, and a little bit more UPS there. And these are sent towards the east to 2 output belts here, which then get sent to, of course, space science. All right, so that's RCUs. The last 2 bits here are engines. All right, so engines have pipes and gears in line, just like red circuits. We build the pipes, we build the gears, we put those on belts, combine it with steel, send it down, and build a whole bunch of engines. We have, I think, actually doubled this on accident. I think we have too many, but I'm not 100% sure. So over here, we have all these engines, and that makes 2 belts of engines, just a hair bit shy of 2 belts. Some of them go to the robot frames, some of them go straight on. These will go to Blue Science. The robot frames just above, they got those batteries that you saw before, combined with some green circuits from the north. And then we have robot frames with the electric engines built right in line. Again, if we don't need to belt it, it's one less thing we have to belt. Okay, so these get put into a chest, those intermediate chests fill these robot frames, and these robot frames get sent over to the right to Yellow Science. We have a whole bunch of robot frames, you can see, and this one has no intermediate build. Towards the north of this, we have what should be military science, but I am ashamed to admit the space does not actually make military science yet. That's one of my goals for later. So be it. I don't have it. Not a real Megabase, I'm sorry. And then finally, we have our green circuits for miscellaneous things like green science and all that. Those are produced right here and shipped off to the right. So we have 8 belts of iron and copper, shipping off, I believe, 10 belts of green chips. Yep, that's what that looks like. Okay, so that's green circuits. Those get sent southeast, and now I'll show you the science. We'll start with the space science first, why not? Space science, over here, we have our rocket launches. We have 8 silos. Let's see if I can get this in a good spot. We have 8 silos here. Each silo has its own satellite maker. Kind of keep that nice and tight with one satellite in each one. I don't want to belt those. It has a belt of rocket fuel, low density structures and RCUs being fed in. Those get put into intermediate chests and then loaded into the rockets. You can see there's rockets firing all the time. To get 5,000 signs per minute, you need 5 rockets per minute. Wait, is that right? Yeah, that's right. You don't get the double productivity bonus. So 5 rockets per minute, that's 1 rocket every 12 seconds. And it takes 15 seconds for them to launch. So when 1 rocket loads, another should be ready to go. So this thing is always firing rockets. Just always. The Yellow Science's output towards the east and west sides merged together and sent to the main base on 4 blue belts. Why 4 blue belts? Because if you just do 2 blue belts, you don't have much elasticity for your buffer, and it can cause some problems. So if you're doing a full 5,400 signs per minute base, that's, yes, 2 blue belts, but you want to have 4 blue belts worth of signs so that it has room to fluctuate in terms of what's consumed and what's not, because otherwise the moment it backs up for just a hair, you lost that science. Okay, coming down, this is fed by 10 accumulator factories, 1 radar factory, and 10 solar panel factories. Bunch of resources in here get sent in, and then it's also being fueled by all of these different sections here. So here's the rocket fuel, here's the low density structures, it's probably using about half of them, and here's the RCUs. So a pretty big chunk of this base, like you can see visually, is space science, and that all gets created right here. Let's go to Yellow Science next. Yellow Science is a pretty basic build. We just insert the materials like any other build, and we output it to the other side. Real simple. They are clocked, I believe. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe they're always running. And they make 4 belts of Yellow Science. Again, there's only 5,400 per minute, so only really need 2 belts. But we do 4 for that elasticity, so that if one backs up, it can still have back pressure on it. So the purple is imported from the north. Here's the blue. This is nothing special. It's pretty big though. Blue Science is pretty big. You can see most of it on the screen. Again, 4 belts of blue. Here's the red. Nothing special about the red. These builds are all basically the same. It's just input resources, output resource. Nothing fancy there. 4 belts of red, 4 belts of green, and all of these lanes get sent to the labs. They get split into left and right lanes and sent to various different columns here. So each one gets a column, and then the very end, we merge them all together, lane balance it, and send it up to the last column. There's a little bit of an issue. Oh, perfect. It's dark. You can see it. There's a little bit of an issue with the way this works. So I'm a few labs short, but for the most part, each one of these labs has all of the different types of science getting to the end of each line, and it's 12 beacon. So they're running at 2245%, meaning I need approximately, whatever this count is, 235 labs to run at 5,400 signs per minute. There are a couple labs that are not running. They're missing just a little bit of space science. That is my bad. I got to fix that eventually. That'll give us from 5,300 to 5,400, because right now, if you look at this right now, we're at 5,300 signs per minute over 10 hours, not 5,400. So we're just a hair short of what my goal was, but I'm okay with that because it's just because these labs aren't working. I'm okay with that. Really what I wanted was 5,000, but I thought, hey, why not just go a little bit more, because you never reach exactly what you're going for. So that's the labs, that's the base. I hope you enjoyed the tour. There's only a few more miscellaneous things I can talk about. Let's talk about the necessities, okay? Every Megabase that you have requires a few things. The first and foremost, if you're doing a Megabase, you need a side project, okay? You gotta find something that's important to you. It just so happens I really like wood in this Megabase. So, I have a storage of wood I'm gonna show you. Look at this bad boy here. Each one of these chests has 5,000 wood in it, okay? We have a grand total of 1,090,477 logs. Not bad. It got so big, I had to build another one. So that's what I do. Every Megabase, you gotta have something that you collect. You gotta have something that you like. In this case, we also have pistols, but I'll show you. We only have 47 pistols. It's not so bad, right? It's only 47 and a whole bunch of other stuff. Okay, all right. So that's kind of what I collected. This here was a conglomeration of all of the different trash systems working together to get all the wood from the entire map shipped to the main base and put into these chests. This is the Mojo D make everything with highly customized units of production. So if you don't know Mojo D, you should definitely check him out. He's got a great make everything build. Some people will call this a mall. Some people call it a make everything. I call it what you will. This is a logistics bot based system. It builds everything I ever need, and it just does it really well. Okay, so I need a lot of fuel, so I made these custom ones here. So this nuclear fuel build here, I think I have 2 of those, to be honest. Yeah, no, I have 3. I have 3 lines of that. So I need a lot of nuclear fuel because all these trains just eat it up. I have my Covarex down here. Now, Covarex for me is real simple. I have a building. It gets input from a chest, outputs to a chest, excess goes into a purple chest, and that's controlled by a circuitry. Each one of these just gets 40 put in it, and then it just builds. So it just needs like its unit of 40, and then it just outputs forever. I don't do any looping or anything. And then for every one of these that I need, I just add another one. So in this case, I have 3 Covarex there, 3 Covarex there, and I think I have 6 more down here. So I have 12 different centrifuges running, and I have 10 running this reprocessing and 2 factories running the fuel. This is actually a really good unit here. This can do 25 gigawatts, but since I'm at 40 now, I needed 2. Okay, so I love the make everything. It's got belt. Some of my additions are like a belt-based input for plates directly into gears because you need more gears. And then up here, I have a special custom-made belt builder. So you can see there's 78,000 blue belts in that one, 54,000 blue belts in that one. Each one of these has made 60,000 belts here and 79,000 for the red circuits. And this is a very high throughput belt factory because when you're building this much belts, you really need to have a lot of inserters cranking gears into these machines. Otherwise, you're going to be waiting a real long time. So I learned a lot about just the logistics of these Megabases and how much belt you really need. Over in the southeast corner here, we have the same type of thing. This is a custom edition that I put into place, and if you're looking for a blueprint, you can find it below at my Twitch page. This is a highly optimized inserter build that has a lot of throughput. So for stack inserters, you need 15 circuits and 15 gears per stack inserter. This thing will chew up gears and circuits like no other. If I were to just request a whole bunch of stack inserters right now, I'll show you. I'll request all the stack inserters. This stuff's going to turn on. This machine is just going to go nuts. Okay, this thing has made 57,000 stack inserters, and this thing can make them like no other. We're requesting 400 green circuits right now. This is going to kill the stream. Sorry, let me zoom out a little bit. But this thing is really hauling. It's just making lots and lots of inserters right now. It's just like, it's crazy how much this thing can put out. Anyway, that's enough. I'll turn this thing off. Don't give me any more inserters. Actually, I forgot where my inventory button is. There we go. Turn that all the way back down. And we'll turn that off so we're not wasting resources. Okay, so down here, after my make everything, so this makes everything. This is my train system display setup. You can't see the lower left one, so let me move this up a little bit. Okay, and what I have here is I have different grids of lights that are triggered programmatically to show me different like resource levels of different materials, different resource levels of science, and so on and so forth. Now the simple one is the west side here. This indicates how many trains are being sent to the main base. If it's, for example, iron, we have 4 lights here. 2 out of 4 are on, meaning it's sending 50% of the trains to the main base. So if I have, let's say, 100 trains that are sending iron, it's telling those different outposts, send half. Okay, so all these different ingredients that we send to the main base each have their own lights, so that I can quickly tell, hey, how much is the outpost sending to the main base? If it gets maxed here, if we're at like max, that tells me I need more outposts, all right? If it's low, it means I have enough outposts, I have more than enough outposts, and they're only sending like 1 train at a time, and then they're idle. Over here we have, this is a tracker for how much material is in the train unloaders themselves. This is telling me I have very little stone brick in my buffers. I'm about to run out. Okay, this is telling me I'm pretty low on stone, but I have plenty of steel, red circuits, blue circuits, coal, copper, and iron. So I don't have to worry about these. So when these get low, that to me means that trains aren't able to get to those and drop their resources off. Now this is a logistical thing right here. They're getting there as fast as they can, and they're getting there as fast as my train system can allow it. There's not a whole lot I can do to increase this, but I've spent a lot of effort to make sure it gets to at least this point. Over here, these are the different materials that I have in my logistics network. So I have this many blue circuits, this many red circuits, green circuits. This was useful when I had a bot-based science build, but now I don't. So it's not that useful, but it's still, for the make everything, I can see if I'm out of something. I can tell right from this screen. And then this is the science itself. Again, this is tied to the logistics network. More useful when at a bot-based lab, but I can still kind of see what's going on there. So now I know I have extra greens. Up here over to the right, this is the exact same thing I just talked about, but instead of for iron, copper, and coal on the main base, this is the same information for the circuit base. So the circuit base controller is right here. This logic tells when an outpost should send to the circuit base, and this tells me how full the circuit base is. So the circuit base is very healthy right now. We're in the green and we're not sending many resources. That's a great sign. Okay, down here, this is the actual controller for the main base, and then if I go further down, I get to the train yard. Every Megabase needs a train yard, and what this is for is anytime you need a train, you go to your train yard, you repurpose the train, and then you rebuild the trains that aren't there. And all you do is you configure trains here, you ship them off. Oops, my bad. Thank you, 100 Cotton, for that tier 1 sub, 3 months. And you ship them off, and you do whatever you need to do. Here's all the different orders for those trains. I just take these orders, copy and paste it, get the color in there, change one thing on these orders, and then send it along, and it goes, leaves the station, and I'm done. I don't have to wait for trains to be built. I just have a nice big buffer of 4, 8, 12, 6, and 20 trains ready to be configured at any given time. So that's the purpose of the train yard. Everyone loves a good train yard. It's one of the best things I built for this base. I'm telling you, you got to get one. It's great. So let me just fill in this gap here. So there we go. Now we got 20. Okay, further south. You go a little bit further south. everyone's got to walk of shame, okay? When you die and you spawn at your original spawn points, you got to have some sort of just nice little display here that allows you to get your specific resources. So you get your train, you get your fuel. I have a spare power armor down here that is ready to go. So when I'm a corpse, I get a new power armor. It's got a rocket launcher. It's got night vision. It's got an SMG. I got 100 construction bots, so I'm ready to go. After I go get my corpse, I put those in my trash, and they get recycled, sent back to the main base, and replenished in the system here. I can drop my pistol off in these stupid blue purple chests, get on the track, and go to my merry way, get to where I need to go. So every time I die, I spawn here and I get going. All right, any other cool things that I can talk about here? Here's my module build. This is super basic. It's a bot-based module build. We have speed modules built on site, belted over into speed 2s, which then get direct inserted into speed 3s, same with productivity. So nothing really fancy here. Okay, so that is the grand tour. So thank you for watching thus far. The science facility over here is right now. This is where all the magic happens. Everything around here is the base. Everything around this are the outposts. All right, so let's take a look at what can we look at next. I think we should put this. I think we should put some time into the train system. I think a lot of people are asking themselves, what is this train system? What the hell is it doing? How? So let's start with trains. If you're a megabaser, if you're doing any sort of 500 signs per minute or above, you have probably thought pretty hard, how the heck do I train? All right? It's not an easy problem. I spent a lot of time thinking about it. I spent a lot of time figuring out what's a good way to do this. I want something that's effective, simple, practical, scales, works. Okay, so how do you do it? You hear a lot of things like stacker, you hear train controller, you hear logic, okay? But how does it all work? So let me go through that with you right now. Every train depot has a stacker. In this case, the stacker is where all the trains start. If they can go right through the stacker, great, but they will stop there before they go to their destination. Everything from the stacker forward is chain signaled, with some exceptions I'll talk about later. So for example, this steel train, it's got chain signals in front of it. It won't path, it won't do anything until it can reserve a track all the way to where it's going. All right, so these trains here are all pathing and reserving path on these chain signals all the way to their destination. They will do that. They will go all the way there, and when they get there, they'll unload. The next train is not going to take this path because it cannot make it to this unloader, since all of the chain signals here all the way back to the stacker are telling it, no, you can't make it, okay? So how this train system works is we have these trains here. They are configured to go basically to main base drop off. That's effectively where they're going. There's some little things that I'll get to in a second, but they're going via, here, let me do a brick train. That's the simplest one. They're going via main base brick unloader. This has no weight condition, okay? So it's saying go to this station and then go to main base drop off. This is pathing north to any one of these via main base brick unloaders. If I can find one here. But this one is disabled. The reason it's disabled is because I have logic in place that says only enable this if my buffers are low. Okay, so when the buffers are filled up, we disable this station. When we disable this station, the train won't path to it. That means it goes all the way back here and stays here until it finds a station it can path to. Right now, it's pathing to this one right here and pointing out with my finger that you can't see. It's pathing up through here to this dummy station. We have a dummy station that's always enabled, but you can't get to it because there's circuitry saying this signal is always red. So this train is going to sit here and it's going to try to path to that dummy station forever. It's always enabled. The moment a real station is enabled with the name, there it is, it just happened, you can see it's repathing and now it's going north because it's going to try to go to a different brick unloader, which is this one right here. And it's going to try to pass to this station, okay? Because we have that dummy station in, that means there's always a train station enabled called via MB brick unloader. There's that train. If a train was heading here and we didn't have the dummy station and all of the stations turned off, this thing would stop dead in tracks and say, okay, I need to skip this route and go to the next one, and or no path. One of the two. It all depends on what's going on. So that's how we get trains to only go where they need to go. All right. When it hits, so this is actually a little bit simpler than the other ones. So when it hits this via main base unloader, we know that that train is coming this direction. It actually goes to the next order immediately and goes to MB drop off. That's main base drop off, which is the one down here. All right. And main base drop off is nothing special. It's just go here, empty your wagon, and then leave. Now, this is a terminal station. Let me talk about that for a little bit. This station here doesn't allow a train to pull through. However, the train can turn around and leave by the left side. So why didn't I allow this train to pull through? Okay, the number one reason why I didn't allow it to pull through is because if you can pull through from this point forward, that means other trains can take this route to go south, okay? There could be an iron train that for whatever reason screws up and says, oh my gosh, you know what, I screwed up, I need to take a UE. It's going to potentially go through here and then go down this direction. Because of the fact that this is terminal and every single one of these unloaders is the same, they're all terminal, no train is going to try to go through here unless it's going specifically to here. That means that no train is ever going to come in here unless it's carrying brick. Under no circumstances will it accidentally come in here. If you've ever had a train that accidentally went somewhere it wasn't supposed to go, polluted a whole bunch of belts, or emptied its contents into a whole bunch of boxes it didn't want, or worse yet, filled its train with a bunch of crap it didn't need, you'll understand that's a problem you never want to have to deal with. It's just super annoying. Plus, you just don't want that traffic going through your actual unloaders. The only thing you want coming in here is that brick train. Otherwise, you got problems. Okay, so let's back up a little bit. This station, it's enabled if and only if these buffers are low, okay? When it's enabled, the trains will be able to path all the way to it, okay? So let's do something a little bit more advanced. Let's talk about a copper train or an iron train. So the copper and iron trains are kind of special cases, right? They go to let's see if I can find one here. Here's one. They go to main base via copper plates, and then they go to via main base via copper unloader. Okay, so the first one here is different. This is different than the bricks. The main base via copper plates is a special train stop that's right here. And what this is saying is that this lane of this gigantic construction I have here that goes north for miles and miles and miles, this lane is only for copper trains. So the copper train goes specifically down this route, and instead of having a chain signal here, I have a rail signal. What this effectively does is this allows one train to come in here and queue up and stop right at this point here, or go forward. That gives this, the whole area here, the effect of being a mini stacker. So what that does is that moves the stacker concept from all the way down here to up here. It brings it a little bit closer to its destination, and that solves an issue where you have all of these chain signals being in place, right? That solves the issue of like, hey, I need a train that's going to go all the way around the right-hand side, all the way up, and then at the very last or second last step, hang a left across all the different tracks. It's not going to be able to reserve that whole track, that whole time. That's a lot of track to reserve. That really kills your throughput. Instead, it'll take incremental jumps up this like path. It'll leapfrog up this path. First, it'll go to this section here. This is a stone train, right? It's dedicated to that. It stops at this chain signal and saying, okay, I'll wait. All right. There is another rail signal here. This is not a chain signal. So it'll have two stone trains, one here and one here. And it'll say, I'll wait. Again, so you have these mini stackers, these first in, first out stackers that go all the way up the path. And if they don't need to move forward, they get out of the way so that other trains can cross over and empty into the unloaders, okay? Does it slow throughput? Maybe a little bit, but the alternative is to have these chain signals all the way up here so that whenever a train needs to unload iron plates to this outpost, it would have to reserve all of the track, including all of these tracks, to get over. So what happens if we had this stone train down here? What happens if this train were to reserve all the tracks from this point all the way up through this middle area, all the way up, and unload here? That means that no train could go around the outside and cut through. It'll never happen. So that's a big problem. That's what this little mini stacker alleviates. These little mini stackers just improve the throughput of this line, okay? This line I tested in creative mode like once or twice. I was able to get about 900,000 plates per minute through this kind of setup, which is more than enough for any Megabase. So this is a tried and tested kind of pattern here, and it worked for my needs 100% of the time. Now, it didn't work when 0.17 had that vicious bug, but it does work. All right, one other thing I want to talk about this. Sorry, I'm talking so much, I need to drink a lot. This via main base unloader, that's a waypoint station, and there's some special considerations for this. I need a coal train here. When it goes to the via main base unloader and it doesn't have a wait condition, I'm gonna pause this. No, I can't effectively pause it. Oh well. So this is my chance right here. I'm not gonna be able to see it fast enough. But let me show you. It's gonna go to the via main base unloader. However, the moment it paths to this via main base unloader, the moment it reserves the track to get to this train stop and it has enough speed to get there, it goes to the next order of main base drop off. Okay? That means at that moment, the moment that this actually paths to the next spot, so it goes to main base drop off, I have this signal here which turns, I think it turns red. Okay, so this will turn red because a train has reserved this path to this segment. It's going to turn off this station. So you can, let's see if I can get a visual of this. I can get a visual like this. Okay, and we'll do this copper. Okay, so this via main base unloader here is going to disable the moment a copper train comes in and can path to the segment after it. That causes all other trains who are going to via main base unloader, which is probably going to be like 4 or 5 trains, to immediately repath and select a different place. And the way we do this is we disable this very early on so that other trains don't wait for the copper. There it is. It just happened. Did you see that? It just happened. We'll show it again. It causes the other trains, which are waiting back in the stacker, to immediately go to a different one. Otherwise, they're all trying to get to this main base drop-off. So that's why we use this intermediate. It's a pretty advanced tactic. I'm not going to go into any more depth, but it's a really cool feature that you can do in 0.17 with these waypoint stations. Okay, so let's see that one more time. Here's the coal unloader. So the moment we see a coal train come through here, if it can path to this point, once it reserves that track, it's going to turn this station off, okay? The only thing that is in this whole section here is coal trains. So if we ever see a coal train come through here, it should come in a couple seconds. At about this point, if it's fast enough, somewhere around here, this station will turn off. Even though it's turned off, the train is still going to go through it because it goes to the next station the moment it passes to the waypoint. So let's give this a second. Here it comes. Is that it? That's not it. Any coal trains down here? There's no coal trains. Where's a coal train? There's a steel, there's copper, there's a copper outside. Here's our coal train right here. See, it's coming? Alright, so this is the one right here. This is the one it's going to path to. Notice when it turns off, it just turned off. Here comes the train. That train definitely went to this waypoint and then went to main base drop off. So the other thing I really like about this train system is that all of our coal trains are basically the same. I can show you the orders here. They all go to outpost stacker, outpost pickup, outpost stacker, via main base unloader, and then main base drop off. Okay, they're all the same orders. That means if I want 2 different coal trains for 2 different outposts, I make 2 coal trains. The only thing I have to change is this via which outpost I want. So in this case, let's go to via main base 02 here, drag this up to the top, get rid of this one, and bam, this train is now good to go. They're all the same. They don't have any special considerations. Okay, so let's go back to here and talk about this thing. Okay, well, you know what? We can't talk about that until we talk about the outposts. So we've talked about the unloading bays. The trains, to summarize, the trains will come to an unloading bay if and only if that bay is turned on. That bay is turned on when the buffers are considered low. We'll get into that later. And when they turn on, the trains come via the stacker through these channels, through the mini stackers, to the unloaders, deliver the parts. These parts are unloaded in a balanced way. They're both lane balanced, which means that equal items go to both sides of the belt, and each chest has its own blue belt, which is split together, which means it's pulling from all of the different chests equally. Then an 8x8 balancer here assures that all cargo wagons are pulled from evenly, so that every single one of these chests on average will have the same amount. Now there's some discrepancies here, like 300, 1100, 900, and 400. But those are just due to the fact that you have one extra insert coming out of the train at the end of each train, and it doesn't hurt anything. It doesn't hurt anything. It's very much a non-issue. Okay, so if I let this go now, we have all different unloaders. I can very easily plant more unloaders. I can configure them. I can say, you know what? I need iron plates here. Let's configure this to be an iron plate unloader, and then I have 8 belts of iron plates to work with. That's how I built my Megabase. And this whole design just keeps going north over and over again. And at the top here, I got a whole bunch of empty bays. All right, let's talk about the outposts. Let's do a simple one first. Let's do this copper over here. Okay, here is the other side of the trains. All right, so this is what I talked about earlier. This is a distributed train system. Okay, train stacker system rather. The stacker itself for the main base is very, very small. We looked at it earlier. There were 350, I think 365 trains total. So we can't build a stacker of 365 trains. It doesn't work in factory. If you try it, it will fail. They won't path correctly. So what we do instead is we send the trains out to the outpost. These trains can only go to, let me get these orders up here. That's pretty big. They go to the via copper plate 7 waypoint, okay? That's this guy right here. They go to this via station. Once they get here, they go to outpost stacker, okay? So they go into the stacker. There they are. At this point, the stacker says, hey, I'm going to either hold on to you or let you go. This stacker, when it says hold on, it keeps the train there. They're locked in place. I'll get to that in a second. They don't leave. When it says go ahead, it's going to go to outpost pickup. So first it goes to outpost stacker, waits for the stacker to say depart, D for depart, goes to pickup to get a full cargo inventory. This is important. Goes back to the stacker, waits for that depart signal again, and only then does it go to the main base, okay? So outpost stacker, pickup, stacker. When it gets to main base by 07, it can only path to this outpost stacker here, even though there's an outpost stacker over here as well. It's the same name, but it has a different via station. So once a train gets to this point, it's like, okay, I need to go to outpost stacker, but there's only one to go to. Now this train is going to say, I need to go to outpost pickup. Well, outpost pickup is right here. There's also 27 other outpost pickups, but look at closely. It can only path to the left to this outpost pickup. This outpost pickup, you can see I severed this line. This line not supposed to be there. No other train can path here unless they're coming from the stacker. There's no other path to outpost pickup other than from the stacker. So they go in. Their ability to navigate to outpost stackers is now very, very limited. They can either leave or they can go to the pickup. Right? Once they go to the pickup, they can only go to this pickup. Again, this has a pickup over here as well. Here's an outpost pickup, but they can only go to this one. So we trick the trains into the orders that we want by limiting their options for pathing. Once it goes to pickup, it's going to go back to stacker. Well, it can only go back to this stacker. It can't actually leave. There's no way for the train to leave from this location out this way. It has to go through this stacker. It goes back to the stacker, and then it goes to the main base. Okay, so the D equals 0 thing. Let's talk about that now. So we got trains coming in, and we're holding on to those trains. The way this works is pretty convoluted, but it's not crazy. I can walk you through it conceptually, but I'm not going to go through all the combinators. The one thing we need to know is that there's a green wire here, and this green wire is connected to this little thing. This is sort of like a filter, and that is connected to the red and green wires that are throughout the whole map. So every single outpost is connected to each other. The main base is all connected by one red-green wire. And if you look on the lower right, we got all sorts of stuff going on these wires, okay? So what this is doing is it's saying, this is a very generic build here. It's saying I have an L of 4 and an R of 77. The L of 4 is how many trains does this outpost actually have, okay? So in this case, it's saying I have 4 trains. I have 4 stacker slots. I have 4 trains. That's being converted into, I believe, iron or copper ore here and sent to the red wire. This is going to tell the main base, I have 4 slots. I have 4 trains for copper ore. And then that effectively says I have 4 copper plate outpost stacker bays. This is really what it is. All right. This copper is saying I have 4. If I go down to another station, this copper over here is saying I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 6. So the L here is 6. This is sending 6 onto that wire. So now the main base is like, okay, well, I have 10. So the main base knows how many copper ores are on it. There's 26. If you look on that lower right, there's 26. And what that means is that throughout my entire base, throughout all of my outposts, I have 26 trains running copper plates to the main base. That's main base, not circuit base, main base, okay? 26 trains are heading there, all right? So that's step 1. I'm going to stop here. I'm going to go over to the other side. If we take 26 trains, all right, how many resources does each train have? 32,000. So we have a lot of resources worth of trains that we can send. On the flip side, at the main base, each one of these unloaders here is reading the contents of the chest, okay? In this case, this has got 4,000, 2,600, 1,000, and 1,200, okay? It's reading this value, which is a total of 8.8 thousand plates. And it's saying, okay, I have 8.8 thousand trains, or 8.8 thousand plates in a cargo wagon. Each cargo wagon can hold, I think it's 4,000 plates. okay? And we're going to say at this unloader, we're going to report that we have about 2.07 trains worth, 2.06 trains worth of buffer in our system. All right, that's what this is saying. And it's also saying I have one copper unloader, and this is being sent to that same red-green wire. So now we know how many outposts we have, how many trains we have at those outposts, how many unloading bays we have, and the number of trains worth of material that are at the unloading bays. So we know how much we have in our buffers, which means we know exactly how much is available before the buffer is filled. So in this case, we have 2 trains worth of material in this buffer. We can fit 2 more trains worth of material in that same buffer, okay? So this unloading bay can effectively support 2 more trains, okay? Every unloading bay knows how many resources does it have in it, so we can calculate exactly how many trains can we send to the main base before we will overload our buffers. So if all of our buffers are half full, okay? So in this case, we have 10 unloaders for copper. If they're all half full, we can send 20 trains, all right? We can send 20 trains, and we have 26 trains servicing. So we're going to divide that, simple division, and we're going to say send 20 divided by 26% of the trains. We're going to send 75% of the copper trains that are out there to the main base, all right? That is what you saw right here, okay? This is that representation. This is saying send 50% of the trains. This is saying send 75% of the red circuit trains, because it knows how many trains service it. It knows what it has in its buffers. It knows how much can be sent before it overloads, and it's saying send that many trains. This is actually saying send all the red circuit trains now. It's literally saying we need more than we can even produce. Send everything you got, okay? This is a lot of talking. Gosh, when you make a real YouTube video, you can do cuts and stuff. This is a lot of work. All right, Slip2Second, thank you for those 100 bits. When it gets to actually doing that, though, how do we know to send 50% of the trains? What trains does it send? Well, on this green wire, it's saying it's the green copper plate is the number of trains we should send to the main base. In this case right now, it's saying send 67% of the copper plates that we have. I'm sorry, trains. 67% of the trains that do copper plates. It's saying send 64% of the trains that do iron plates, 60% of the coal trains, 61% of the green trains, 105% of the red circuit trains, okay? All of this stuff is pretty basic addition, subtraction, all that stuff. We're not doing any of that crazy multiplexer stuff. We're just doing basic, hey, look, we have this many trains, we have this many resources that we can take in, send this many trains, okay? So it's saying send 66% of the trains. So how does that affect our outpost? Well, this outpost is reading that value of 66, and it's doing some math on it. And it's saying, okay, give me, translate that to R. So now R and L are abstracted. So this build can be used on every outpost. Now we have R and L. R is send this many trains. Even though it says 64, it is translated to 75 due to some minor optimizations here. But over on this side, what we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, here, kitty. If we're sending 100% of the trains, send all the trains. However, what if we're not sending 100%? If we're saying send only 25% of the trains, what we do is we lock these 3 down and we open up the 4th. And the 4th will say you can always leave, but these top 3 will say you must stay. And when it says you must stay, that means that the trains that fill up, or the trains that path in here, they always take the closest one. So they'll fill in this one first, we'll lock that one down. It'll fill in this one second, we'll lock that one down. It'll fill in this one third, we'll lock that one down. We have 3 locked down. The 4th train will come in, it'll say, okay, we're sending 25% of our trains. This train, you can go. It leaves, fills up, and sends off. Now we know we will only send 25% of our trains. We will not have any chance of overloading our buffers, okay? There is absolutely no way that with this system, we will send trains that overload the buffers, okay? But we do have extra trains here, okay? We do have extras. So I have configured this to have a little bit of sway and add just a few more trains so that we do have just a little bit of buffer, okay? So once that train comes back, it does all of its work, it'll come all the way back down here, it'll path in here, take that fourth slot again and say, okay, we're sending 25% of the trains, let's go. You can go in here, load the materials, come back to the stacker, double check, hey, can I still leave? Yes, you can, it'll leave. If we're sending 50% of the trains, that's when outpost stacker number 2 picks up and says, okay, you can leave. If we're sending 75%, this one will go. And if we're sending 100%, this one will go. The only variation to that is I take the number of trains in this stacker and I divide 100 or 50 by that number and I add that. So what that effectively does is it gives me ranges now. So instead of at 25% send a train, we're saying at 12.5% send a train. At 37.5% send a train. If you're at, oh, math is hard, 62.5% send a train. So that way we're sending trains just a little bit earlier. We're not waiting for it to be able to handle the whole train. We're waiting for it to handle half the train. So we're sending just a little bit earlier. The downside to this is actually fairly big, okay? We are tracking the number of trains that we're sending to the base, okay? And we're saying, don't send more than 25% of the trains, because if you send more than 25% of your trains, you're gonna overload the main base. However, every train that goes to the main base spends just as much time leaving the base, heading back. So only half the trains are effectively running than it thinks, right? Because if we're sending 14 out of 28 trains, we're sending half the trains. That means 7 are en route and 7 are returning back. They're not actually delivering right now. So there's a little bit of a drawback to this, and hopefully that's alleviated by the fact that we have these larger buffers, okay? Whew, all right. Now, how does this work? If we have, only send 50% of the trains because our buffers are pretty good, how do we prevent a train from just saying, okay, let's go to the first coal unloader and just keep unloading right here? Because that's effectively what's going to happen, right? Is if we just send the trains over, these trains are going to be like, well, go to the first one and unload. This is just going to get backed up, and you're going to get train stops. So we only enable the stations if, quote, the buffers are low. Well, how does that work? The buffers are low if they're considered less than the average buffer of that type of material. All right, so we have 6 different coal drop-offs here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Each one of them reports how much it has. Remember, we said each one tells the system, I have 100, in this case, 1.12 trains worth of material in my buffer. It also says I have 1 unloader. So each one of these reports what type it is. It's a C. C for coal. C for coal. The system then says, okay, I have 6 coal unloaders, and I have a total of 9 trains worth of coal in my buffers. So each one has 1.5 trains worth of material. That's where we calculate what the average is. So what is the average amount of coal in a typical buffer? That's that green C down there. It's saying we have 150% of, on average, 150% of a train's worth of material in a buffer. All right. So we're taking that number and we're saying, okay, is my local buffer less than or greater than that? If it's less than that, let's enable. All right. Let's turn on. Turns on the station so that a train will come in and deliver it. All right. So the moment an unloader has less than the average number of resources in all the buffers, it's saying, I need the next payload. It turns itself on. And then we're using an RS latch to keep it on. Okay, so it turns on and then it stays on forever, and only turns off if a train delivers. Okay, so that's the RS latch that is right here. This is an RS latch. So again, that's effectively saying, let me get another drink. If this station turns on, it turns on because it's low on resources. That is lower than the average buffers of all of that type of material in the system. It turns on and stays on until a train comes in, and that train passed through here. And the moment it passes through here, it's going to reset this RS latch, and this station's going to turn off. If, for whatever reason, this station was below the average, okay, let's say it's at 100%, and the average is 125% full. If the average somehow goes down because every other station was emptied, but this is now the most full station, we don't want the station to turn off. Because if we turn off the station, all the trains that were headed here will just stop and they'll no path. It'll be bad. So we got to keep that on. And here we go. Here we have a train. You can kind of see all the different numbers. They're moving around, they're doing things. Is unloading, it's adding more to it. So that's how we effectively distribute all of our trains across all of these different unloaders. And you can see we have tons of them. We probably have like 25 here. Turn off this train stop names. And each one of them has a different amount of material. So this has got 5,000 red circuits, and this one's got 5,000. They're all roughly kind of the same. They all kind of scale. Up here we got 2,000 iron plates in these, 4,000 in that one for some reason. We have thousands in this one, right? We got lots and lots of plates up there. But if I go down here, we should have a similar amount in this train as well. Look at this, similar amount. So they always try to service whatever, whichever one is lowest. Chat just asked, how many hours of Cracktoria do you have, if I may ask? Well, turns out today, lucky me, all right? Lucky me, I'm looking at this right now. What the heck? That was interesting. I have just crossed 3,000 hours. That's pretty sad, but awesome at the same time. Okay, so that is the way that these unloaders work. All right, they distribute the trains equally across all of the different unloaders. Over here on the right-hand side, we have the identical setup. It's exactly the same thing, but instead of using C for coal, we're using P for plastic, so that it's a separate condition, because the trains that service this depot over here are different trains that service the main station, okay? All of these outposts are configured to either send to the main or the circuit base, one of the two, not both. We don't do any sort of balancing. If you try to balance those out somehow by saying, just go to one unloader, Factorio cannot do that. The train system in vanilla Factorio cannot just figure out which one needs more. You have to predefine, you have to really tell it how many trains should go to the east and how many trains should go to the west by giving those direct orders. Okay, so after all this is said and done, the one thing I really love about this, again, is that these locomotives are scheduled to be, you set up a via station for where that outpost is. Okay, this is copper 7. Everything else here is the same. All of the trains that go to copper are the same. All I have to do is change one station. I don't have to add any orders, and they go, hey kitty. And they go to that station, do their thing, and come back. That makes adding more trains very simple. Okay, so that is the train system. That's everything. I gave you the full tour of Rain's train depots, okay? Over here we have train yard. Over here we have TLS. This is just the stacker, just in case you need it. I really don't need one this big, but hey, it doesn't hurt to have it. And everything is working. As you can see, after 10 hours, we are solid 5.3 thousand signs per minute. No blips. The train system, it works. Okay, cool. All right, so that was the train system. We can dive into something else now. So here's that 10,000 foot overview. I'll let you soak this in for a second some more. All right. I want to talk a little bit about this, how we got to this point. So every Megabase has a story. How did you get here? I didn't start with all of this stuff built, all right? We built everything here ourselves. We built this entire thing in 200 hours. That means killing biters, clearing bases, setting up outposts, building trains, setting up the trains, building power, setting up power, going through the building of nuclear. I mean, we have 50 gigawatts worth of power here. Do you know how many nuclear reactors that is? Do you have any idea how many nuclear reactors it is? Let me tell you. If I can find nuclear reactors here, I'm sure it's here somewhere. It's not thousands, is it? It's less than thousands, but it's at least hundreds. It better not be thousands. 408 nuclear reactors, okay? There's a lot of stuff that was built, okay? Everything here was placed, and I am the only one who's been doing this. And it's only, I say only, 200 hours. That's a lot of hours. I've spent 200 hours building this. How did I put it all together? Okay? It's not like I just grabbed a bunch of resources, went somewhere, and just said, all right, let's plop this one by one. No. Construction bots here. Let me show you. Let me show you how many construction bots I've... See if I can... That's not it. It's all... How many construction bots have I made? 38,000 construction bots, okay? And I use them, okay? I use them a lot. I love construction bots. They placed most of the things in this space. I'm gonna have to kick you out. How did I use them effectively, okay? I put together a system that I'm referring to as TLS. It's called Train Logistic System. And what this does is it allows me to go out and set up an outpost like this. I place this down, and all of these different train stops here. You know what? Let me head over there so I can demonstrate. I can demonstrate while I'm there. Put some fuel in here and head over. I'm gonna go to one that's real close by, so I'm gonna go to this one right here. All right, so TLS, Train Logistic System, is what I put together to allow me to go out to some remote location, set down a small, tiny little blueprint, okay? And have that blueprint be capable of requesting a train, okay? And that train comes along to this tiny little outpost that I'm making and drops off a couple materials. I call this the seed, right? The seed is the heart of TLS. The seed train comes along, drops off all the materials I need to build the TLS unloader. All right, so the seed has only the materials that I need to build the unloader, right? And that's this whole big thing here. This is my TLS unloader. Once the TLS unloader is built, this is phase 2. Now we have trains that can come and deliver all the different components that I need to build an outpost, all right? I don't want to have to carry any items from the main base to the outpost. If I do, if I have to carry items to the outpost, I risk not having items, forgetting things, not having enough belts, not having enough rails, not having enough anything. I can only hold so much. Our inventory is pretty small compared to the size of a train. I don't know what I'm going to need. I may not have the items built yet. Maybe I don't have stack inserters available. Maybe I need 400 stack inserters, but there's only 220 in the chest. What do? I don't want to wait for that. So I built this system to allow for trains to deliver all this stuff. People usually refer to these as like engineering trains, or building trains, or something like that. And there's a lot of different variations on how people approach this problem. The way I did it is I have one unloader, okay, that allows multiple different trains to deliver parts to it. And those trains, depending on where that cargo wagon is in relation to its locomotives, will either land here, 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 or here. So in this section, we're going to have 4 locomotives and then a cargo wagon. And it's going to unload those pieces of material. I'm here, okay. To the outpost, all right? And then I want to be able to configure it so that I can have different types of outposts. So how can I do that? Okay, well, let's just change this. All right, let's just change this and I'll show you. These lights up top indicate what I have or what I don't have. I want this outpost now to have all sorts of things. So I'm going to change this constant combinator here to say I need at least 50 beacons, 50 furnaces, and 50 assembly machine 3s. And then this constant combinator here tells me how many I should pull off the train if there's a train there. So I want 150 assembly machine 3s, 150 furnaces, and 200 beacons. So this side configures when to send the train. This side configures how much to pull from any train should that train arrive. This logic here runs all the time and says if there's something on the train that I need, pull it off. This logic over here runs all the time saying if I have too much material, let's trash it. So this on the left hand side is trash, and this is request. Okay, once a train comes, they're all configured to use stack filter inserters that pull different types of resources off the train. If the train has something I need, it's saying okay, grab those. Those go directly into a purple active provider chest or a steel chest. The steel chest is for the bots. So we have direct insertion of bots, both logistics and construction bots, into roboports. These roboports then are dedicated to that type. So if I have too many Logibots, I can still get construction bots. If I have too many construction bots, I can still get Logibots. Those go directly in here, and they essentially allow this whole system to work. They allow the construction to happen. Once I have construction bots here, I can turn my personal roboport off, and the construction bots will do everything. I don't have to even have Power Armor Mark II. I don't need anything. All I need to do is lay blueprints down. The materials will be shipped out to it. The bots will build it. I can go on my merry way and do outpost number 2. So we did call this train, and that train is going to be in motion. Sometimes it does take a long time for this train to get here. This is actually a really bad example because I picked someplace what I thought was close, but it's actually pretty far away. Because the TLS trains that support it are right here, and they go all the way south now, west, north. And they arrive. So if I look at this, okay, it's almost here. Okay, it's almost here. So we're gonna see this train come in, and it's gonna unload only the materials that I asked it to from this train. So this train has, well, it's got exactly what I requested. So it's gonna take all those furnaces, it's gonna take some of those assemblers, and it's gonna take the beacons, and it's gonna send this train back. We're done, okay? It doesn't need any more. It's good to go. Now I have those materials available. If I were to do the same thing and say, let's see, what's a good example here? Oh, here's a good one. This is saying I need at least 1 rail. I want 800 rail. And when you get here, give me all 800. No, give me 1,000. So now this one is saying, you know, send me this train, which is the seed train. The seed train carries the rail, and that seed train will come deliver those parts, and it'll be it'll happen automatically. So I'm going to stop this now. I'm going to set this back down to 401. So now I'm saying only send 1 and then bring me up to 400. But notice this light is still on. So once it actually requests a train, that train's going to come service this outpost. It's going to deliver whatever it needs, and then it's going to go back home. Whether or not it still needs it doesn't matter. It'll still send the train all the way here. So if you have, like I have here, terminal stations, I don't want my train to stop in no path. It makes its way all the way here, uses an RS ledge to keep it on, and then when the train arrives, it resets it, sends the train back. If it still needs more material, it'll call it again. So that's how TLS works. I'm gonna actually set one up so you can witness how it works, okay? And I'm gonna do it close to the base so you can see that it's kind of nice and quick. So I'm gonna go over here, there, and I'm gonna build an outpost right here. It's not gonna be a real outpost, but it's gonna be an outpost, just so I can show you how this works, all right? And then once you see it in action, you'll understand this is how Rain built this Megabase. He used these TLS systems to really help move it along. And that way I didn't have to like painstakingly build each and every one of these outposts by hand by carrying materials. I didn't have to summon a train, wait for a train, send it back, bring it. It just did it all automatically, okay? So as we're heading over there, I'll grab one more drink. I'm gonna go ahead and fill up. Here's one of the old outposts. Quick twirl Sherlock, thank you for that gifted tier 1 sub. We're making this video for YouTube. Thank you very much for that support. I am not going to go extensive with my thank yous. I just wanted to recognize thank you very much for that. Community has been great to me in the past month. Just want to say that. Okay, so for TLS out here, I have a series of blueprints, okay? These blueprints are available on my Twitch page. These are public. There's even a guide on GitHub that describes everything about this system, everything you'll ever need to know about this system. There's a guide that tells you how the circuitry works. There's schematic diagrams to show just what is going on, how it works, and why it works. And the reason why I put that together is because I thought this would be a great resource for people who wanted to learn circuitry or learn how to do things in Factorio. So why not give all this information back to the community so that people can be equipped to build things that they want to build on their own time and learn from something that is both practical, proven, and useful. Okay, so we're just gonna put a small little outpost here. I have a series of blueprints that helps me with this that I've been using the entire time I've been playing. This one here is my book of different types of stations and different types of seeds. They're different shapes. I'm going to drop the outpost seed down first. This seed is effectively nothing more than here's a small unloader, okay? And this unloader can summon the seed train, which is on its way back. All right, it's going to be a while. Summon that seed train and pull some parts off it. Now we only needed 5 stack filter inserters. We needed 3 purple chests, 2 yellow chests, and 2 steel chests, plus all these combinators. The stuff that I needed can fit in my inventory. Actually, I don't even need most of those stack inserters. I don't need any of that stuff. I don't need any of this stuff. The stuff that I needed fits in my logistics requests here, and is a pretty small subset of my inventory. I feel like this is like the de facto standard. You probably want these items in your inventory, but it's not too excessive, all right? At this point, I am turning my bots off right here. I'm gonna click this, toggle personal roboport. I have no roboport on. I do not have to even be here anymore. In fact, I could probably do this from afar if I had a radar set up. Okay, so that was the seed. Now this seed train is going to come. If I place another blueprint down, it's not going to build it yet because there's nothing here, but eventually it will. So now the other thing I have is I have different types of stations that are configured, and you can build these yourself using the TLS blueprint books that I have in my on my pastebin.com site. Those links will be below in the description. This on-site smelting station here is configured to just take a whole bunch of different resources from the main base and ship them in. That includes concrete, just in case you want to concrete something, why not? That includes modules, beacons, defense, laser turrets, ammo, bots, even light oil is included. And then of course rails and all that stuff. So I'm gonna place this down right here. Okay, you see how those roboports line up? See how all of the substations line up? That is kind of your guide to make sure this works. And you know what? Give me all these trees too. I love these trees. So now this is the actual TLS system built out. All right, so this is step 1. When the train gets here, that seed train is going to unload the materials needed to build this whole setup, which is then going to request 9 more chests. What does that look like? I can show you quick. Here's the stations that service all the TLS. These are all the TLS related trains. They're actually combinated up as well because I have an addiction to combinators, I'm sorry. And each one of these trains has a different kind of location for where that cargo wagon is. Sometimes there's 3 stations within the same spot. Sometimes there's 2. It all depends on how that lines up. Oops. Okay. Over here we have him in the leftmost spot, 2nd, 3rd position, 3rd position, and 2nd position. There's none in the 1st position. You can't fit anything in the 1st position, but that's okay. And then down here, this is where the seed train normally is, and then this is just a trash train. Okay. So the trash train just picks stuff up from the outpost and brings it back, throws it in these active provider chests, and goes on its merry way. Oh, something's happening. Oh, I'm sorry, you missed it. Okay, the seed train has arrived. It put construction bots directly into the roboport. It's building this, it's grabbing all of this, and it's even putting stuff in the trash right now. You see that? It's trashing excess materials. It accidentally put just a few extra items into these purple chests for some reason. Can't explain why. I can explain why, I just don't want to. and then it's going to trash them. Okay, it's also trashing all the wood it just picked up. The trash train has been summoned. You can tell because this light's on right here. The trash train's going to come pick this up. All these green lights on the left have lit up. Notice this one did not, because you know what? We don't have pumps here. We don't have pumps here. Why don't we have pumps here? Why is there one pump? That's actually incredible that there's one pump. I wasn't expecting one pump. But it doesn't actually summon, stop that, honey, the light oil train until this pump is created. So this one's kind of special. All right, here. Go on. All right, so now that these are lit up, we should see an armada of trains heading out. There is. How embarrassing. This trash train, for some reason, is no pathing. That never happens. But for the YouTube video, of course it's going to happen. Of course it's going to happen. Seriously, that has not happened in ages. It's probably been 100 hours since I've had a no path issue like that. I couldn't tell you. Couldn't tell you. Anyway, so this system here, we have all sorts of stuff coming. It's going to deliver parts. While it's doing that, I have a whole system for setting up these outposts. I'm just going to place this down, and I'm going to start building this outpost as though it was a real outpost, okay? So we have like a loader here. Again, these are not my bots doing this. This is the system doing it. So pretend we had miners somewhere. We're going to do some on-site smelting too. Why not? We'll place one of these there, one of them there, and then maybe we can set up something else. Okay, so maybe we can put some defense up. So let's put a gate over on the right-hand side. We can put a wall over here too. And imagine, I'm not going to do it, but imagine we set up all sorts of stuff. Now this is the highly overkill defense wall that I had before. It's got concrete walls, gun turrets, laser turrets, flamethrower turret, long-handed inserters, requester chests that are requesting uranium. It's got everything. And right now it's actually picking up the trash. So it's picking up all this trash here, and it's going to go on its merry way. We got all these trains here that, well, they are blocking the way, but they'll clear up, that are waiting to deliver the parts. And our construction bots are active, and they're coming to deliver all the things, all right? So we have 50 Logibots and 60 construction bots in the system right now. That's from the seed train. There's a specialized train that delivers more bots. Hey, look, that's the first one coming. This train has a ton of bots, okay? It's got a lot of bots. It's going to load construction bots and logistics bots into the chests here, all right? So this chest is going to hold intermediate bots. If it can, it's going to go right into the RoboPort. This one for Logibots, this one for construction bots. If it fills up, it does leave some of these bots inside of the chest. Hey, thank you, Keji, for those 200 bits. You are in the YouTube video. Congratulations. And these bots now queue up because we requested 1,500 logistics bots in this RoboPort network. So it's going to keep unloading into this chest until we have 1,500 in either the RoboPort or the chest combined. So we do some logic here to figure out, okay, how many Logibots do we actually have? Not just in the system, but also queued up to be put into the system. And that determines whether or not we pull those off the train. It only pulls Logibots into this chest. It doesn't put them into the purple chest. We never actually put them into the storage system. We only put them into that system. I'm going to drop a few more things down here. Here's a radar. And then imagine we also need this. Because I put this in every single outpost. I just never updated my blueprints. We also need some extra storage there. So now these bots should build that. If we were at higher than 30 UPS, you would see some action here. But we're still loading here. We're still worrying. Still working on it. We have 357 construction bots in the system right now. That's a pretty good amount. That'll help build the outpost pretty quick. We are obviously out of rails, but we have a couple of trains coming. Come on, pick it up. Pick up the pace. How many do we got here? We got 350 in there and 1,000 in there, so we're still just a few short. And we only have 50 left to take off the train. So eventually they'll figure out. Okay, so they did that. Now they built some chests. At this point, I could walk away, do other things, build another outpost, doesn't matter. I can smoke a cigarette for all I care. I don't actually smoke. I could go to the bathroom and I come back, it's all gonna be built. I don't have to, no hands. I don't have to do anything. This is where now you're gonna start seeing the value, okay? It just delivered a whole bunch of furnaces, all right? It delivered a whole bunch of, beacons? and maybe some assemblers. No, there's no assemblers. This is smelting. Next one up, this is the defense train, okay? It's going to unload a whole bunch of parts for defense. This is ammo, this is turrets, this is red inserters, walls, and stuff like that, okay? There's no actual connection yet to the east side because we don't have the roboports, but it's putting it in storage. It's getting ready, all right? It's getting to the point where it can build it. So it dropped off a whole bunch of military components. It didn't take the artillery, but I didn't want it. I have it configured not to take it. And it's probably going to summon that train again because while it did take a bunch in, it wasn't all of them. Okay, so next up is the module train. The module train is separate. And this is one thing I really like about this system. A lot of megabases can produce most of the goods, but level 3 modules are really, really expensive, all right? So by putting those modules on their separate train, if for whatever reason I'm low on modules because it's hard to make them, only that train will be delayed. All of the other trains can still service your TLS outposts, but just the module train will be behind. And that is typical. That happens to every megabase. You always run out of modules. If you had one train, okay, that had all of your different parts, it would always be stuck waiting for modules, okay? And it would never be able to leave until it had modules. They may have miners, they may have everything else, but just missing modules, it would be like waiting for those modules. But since we divided it into 10 different trains that each have one cargo wagon, we can say, oh, you know what? Since you have only, since you need all this stuff and you only have 50 modules, we're going to deliver everything but the modules. When you get the modules, great, but we don't have them right now, so we'll deliver them later. Similarly, if it only needs ammo, okay? If it only needs ammo because it's an established station, it's just low on ammo, it'll send only the military train, okay? Just the military train. It won't send your whole big train, it'll send the military train. And meanwhile, your minor train gets sent to the new outpost. So it doesn't waste a whole lot of, like, just time sending things to where they don't need to be sent. Okay, so that delivered something else. Here we have the outpost builder train coming in. This is the one that's got all the rails. It's got all that, the good stuff. This is now going to fill out the rest of the space. I think this has roboports too. Yeah, it's got 20 roboports on it as well. It's going to pull those off. Now these bots are going to get a little bit more active, hopefully. Come on, can you build this one over here? I want you to build that one over there. Well, I guess not. Okay, it's not going to build it. Well, I don't know. Maybe it will. Okay, so this is like a demonstration of what the TLS has done for me. I've used this to build every single one of my outposts. I love it. It works great. Here, even the oil train's coming in now because of that pump was built. But this prevents me from having to do so much work and so many errors. All I have to do is build that seed, build that outpost, and everything builds itself. It's great. So that's how I got to this point. And I feel like this is where I'm going to go off on a little bit of a rant. But when you're building a megabase, when you say I built a 5,000 signs per minute megabase or a 2,500 signs per minute megabase or a 1,000 signs per minute megabase, what you're saying is that I built this, okay? It's not the final output that's impressive. It's the fact that you built it. And you went through all of those steps to get it where it was. You started somewhere, you deleted it, you revamped it, you redid your train system, you cleared a bunch of biters, you figured out how to destroy the biters, you overcame logistical challenges. And those challenges put forth made it difficult, it made it hard. You built all those modules, you built all of those tracks, you built all of those requester chests, all of those inserters, all of those modules, you built all of that yourself. That's the hard part, right? That's the difficult part. Actually placing the blueprints down that do the work, that's a different part. It's important, but it's not the only part. Yeah, this will be on YouTube, don't worry. All of this stuff was built, all right? And everything was built by me on a map that was realistic and pragmatic. I actually burned through all the patches in this area. This is an exception. I left this one so I could build concrete, and that's kind of cheating, but whatever. So this is just the iron ore for concrete. But I burned all the patches in this area. They're all burned up. I went through all of it. I built and ripped up many, many outposts along the way. Some of these are still going. Some of these are freshly depleted. Like this is freshly depleted. This was a huge patch. I devoured the whole thing, which means I built this whole thing and then unbuilt it. I set up all of this stuff, and up here we even have laser turrets. These laser turrets have biter kills. Yeah, they do. One. That means I went through that process of learning how to deal with the biters, setting up the walls, setting up the perimeters, figuring all that out. That's the work. That's where the Megabase really is like, ooh, that's awesome, okay? If you were to just build a Megabase on a simple map that had resources everywhere and use creative mode, or you use infinity mode, or use the map editor and you just placed it down, or maybe you have patches that are like 100 bajillion worth, that means you didn't go through those same steps as somebody who maybe they did. If you make a Megabase with default settings, that is mad respect, okay? You make a Megabase with Railworld, that's serious respect. You make a Megabase with Death World, good lord, that is respect right there. Those represent those challenges. And what I'm about to show you right now is this base here. If I type C space game, is it game speed? How do I do that? So yeah, c.gamespeed equals 100. It's going to tell me using Lua console commands will disable achievements. Please repeat the command. That means I never used a command on this entire map. I never changed the game speed. I never cheated. I never added anything. I didn't do anything outside of the norm, okay? So that's why I feel like doing a base like this Megabase, you always have to take into consideration, is it vanilla? Is it not vanilla? Was creative mode used? Was it not used? Are biters enabled? Are they not enabled? Biters are enabled and rampant, you know? So you really have to consider all of that when you're weighing in, like, what does this actually mean? And that's why I think some of those Megabases out there are just really phenomenal in terms of like, wow, they did that on a Death World. That is amazing. Whereas that same base on a creative mode map without biters, you might shrug. So what I wanted to demonstrate there with that is vanilla, untouched, biters enabled. Somehow we're at 30 UPS. We did it, 5,000 signs per minute. What mods do we use? We use a mod to show the game time and a mod called Nice Fill. That's it. All right, so this outpost is created. Great, fantastic. Now I need to rip it up. I don't need it anymore. Let's just get rid of all this. Sorry, I didn't actually want to build it. All right, these bots are going to tear it down and trash the whole thing and send it back to the main base. That's it. That's it. So that's the TLS system. That's what I use to build this. That's what I use to build everything. If you look at any outpost, it's got a TLS unloader at that outpost. You look at my nuclear build, it's got a TLS unloader. This one requests nuclear parts. It requests heat pipes, steam turbines, heat exchangers, nuclear reactors, even water pumps. That requests it. It gets delivered here. That's all this was built by bots. I didn't build any of this. You know how you know that I didn't build any of this? There's no way for me to actually get there. There's no entry. This was all built by bots. I mean, that doesn't mean it's better, but that's how I did it. And that story I think was really cool. All right, so that is the grand tour of the Megabase. You have seen from the 10,000 foot view, you got pollution, you got biters, you have, here's all of the bot-based builds. They're all lit up, they're all active. We have, on our 10-hour view, 5,000 science per minute running for who knows how long. If I look at the big graph, all right, here's 250-hour graph. Here's our progression. We started a little bit small. We got a little bit bigger. We had some hiccups, but we kind of figured it out. We did our 2,700 signs per minute base first. That worked sometimes, but most of the time it was probably building modules. And then near the end, this is when we spiked. This is when we upgraded. This is when it started doing 5,400 signs per minute here. And in the final 10 hours, we nailed it. We got it. Overall, over the entire playthrough, it's 200 hours. Over the past 250 hours, we've done 1,000 signs per minute. So we have averaged 1,000 signs per minute the whole map. That's pretty cool too. Some of the milestones. Let's look at some of the milestones. We're at, let's look at the 10-hour graph. Iron plates, we've hit as high as 419, it looks like. Copper plates as high as 318. We're doing 380,000 per minute right now on average. 300,000 copper. We're doing, let's see, 50,000 steel and 40,000 red circuits. Okay, let's look at totals. How many beacons did we build? All right, beacons. Let's see if I can find them. It's not 100,000, is it? I hope it's not 100,000. 47,000 beacons, 95,000 speed 3s, 43,000 productivity 3s, 38,000 bots, 124,000 logistics bots, 210,000 uranium rounds. Not bad. 500,000 walls, 1.5 million solar panels. No, we never placed any of them. 4 million robot frames. That doesn't mean anything. That's part of science. 17,000 laser turrets, 17,000 roboports, 18,000 substations, 10,000 steam turbines, 8,000 combinators, 7,000 lights, 6,000 splitters of each type, 5,000 flamethrower turrets, 4,000 tanks, 1,300 green wire, 500 boilers, 4,500 artillery turrets, 143 of those, 19 personal laser defense, 1 tank, 1 artillery targeting remote, 1 modular armor, and 1 power armor, 2 night visions, 2 power armor Mark IIs, 2 rocket launchers, 2 submachine guns, and of course, 3 cars, my favorite. Gotta love the cars. 24,000 nuclear fuel consumed. All right, pretty, yeah, I don't know, pretty much like whatever. All right, that's it. That's all I got. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the base tour. Pistols were at 47. If you are interested in the Megabase, I will put a link below for the save game file. Feel free to open it up, check it out, do whatever you want to do with it. At this point, I'm going to continue on by disabling biters, removing pollution, removing biters, get that UPS back up. I might even get rid of the nuclear in favor of one of those electric energy things that just gives you free power to get that UPS back up to above 30. I think I can get up to like 40 to 45. And then I'm going to play this just periodically here and there. You can catch it on my stream on twitch.com/rain9441. And then I'll also be adding things like military science. So that's coming up in the future. But most of my time is going to be away from this map going forward. I really think that I did complete my goal with this map, and I don't think there's really much more I want to do in terms of like playing it week after week. It's been 41 episodes of this. I've done 41 sessions on this map. I guess averaging about 5 hours per session. It is time to move on. My next base is going to be C Block. If you love C Block, we're going to try to hustle through it. Check me out on Twitch. I'll probably have those videos on YouTube eventually. It might be a while, but we're going to get through it. This base is what I feel is a pragmatic and practical approach to Factorio that allows you to do all the things you want to do in your base effectively. And I think that this is a great resource for anyone who wants to play Factorio, anyone who wants to learn something about how they want to do a Megabase. Check out the map, learn from it, and most importantly, I want you to feel inspired to make something better. Because while I did make something cool, there are a lot of really smart people out there. One of you viewers is just ridiculously smarter than me, and you're going to be able to come up with something better than I did. I guarantee it. I guarantee you there's dozens of people who are going to watch this video and pull something away from it and create something better. And that's what I really love about Factorio, is we're always coming up with just weird and better ways to do things, which is like the highlight of the game. And that's what keeps me going for about 3,000 hours. So thank you one more time for stopping by, saying hello, watching this video, the whole thing. I hope you got a great gathering of information from it. I hope you enjoyed the entire series. I will see you next time in C Block. You guys have a wonderful day. Thank you for watching, and good luck in all your Factorio endeavors. Adios.